Hello, I'm Carla, Marketing Manager for Data Millennium. Today we are here with Malcolm so he can answer some questions about his new book, Successful and Sustainable Data Policies.
Hello, I'm Malcolm Chisholm, and I've just authored a book on successful and sustainable data policies. I've been getting a few questions about the book, the process for it, the content and so on. So I'd like to share my thoughts on those now.
So first question for you, Malcolm, is why do we need data policies for data governance?
Right. Thanks, Carla. The whole idea of data governance is to ensure that the data assets of an enterprise are well managed, well looked after. So data governance units are not that big. They're probably never going to be very big. They are in some organizations, but mostly they're not. So you have a small data governance organization that's expected to have enterprise-wide impact. How can you do that? Well, policies are one of the very few tools that you have at your disposal as a data governance unit that will let you do that. So that's why they're very important, because they enable the reach, they enable data governance to itself scale in terms of its mission.
Our next question would be, why do you think we need a book on data policies at this point?
Right. I think data governance has been maturing for a while now, and it's much more accepted in organizations than previously. So that's one thing. Secondly, data governance has matured over the years, in part because more is being asked of it. So it's more complex. The situation that it's dealing with is more complex as a whole. So we've got to the point where I think very basic things can be done, but this complexity and the scale that's required mean that there's very few choices now about how data governance can address these issues. Policies are a major way of fulfilling this demand, this new demand that's arisen. So I think that's why at this point in time we need data policies more than in the past.
The third question would be, what are the biggest mistakes that you have seen with data policies?
So the biggest mistakes that I've seen with data policies are simply thinking that they're a document that you just write and have some content in, and it's done. It's an artifact that gets created and stored somewhere. That doesn't bring the policy to life. It doesn't ensure that there's adoption of the policy anywhere in the enterprise. So that won't work. The other one is that data governance units tend to focus on data policies in a sort of more insular fashion. They do not go out and coordinate with other units of the enterprise, especially the corporate functions or horizontal functions, as they're sometimes called, like legal, risk, communications, HR, and so on. Failure to do that means that these other organizations can have problems such as overlaps or lack of harmonization with the data policies that are issued by a data governance organization, or all kinds of problems basically due to lack of coordination. Now, part of this is due to the project way of thinking, which is that if I've got a project, I'm going to do it, if I reduce as many external dependencies as possible, then I'll be successful with it. In this case, it's the opposite. You need to interact with as many parts of the organization as possible. So those are a couple of the issues that I've seen.
Can you tell us more about how was the process to put this book together?
Okay, so in putting the book together, the first issue is that you have to have experience in what you're writing about, which takes years. So in doing this book, what I started out by doing was thinking about all the times I've been involved in writing data policies or working in some way with data policies, sometimes on the other side of them in terms of having to comply with them. So all those bits of experience went into this framework. I think, though, perhaps for me the most significant experience I had was working at the United Nations and seeing how sort of administration in terms of policy work was done quite well. I think that was helpful to me. So it was then a question of thinking about the special aspects of data policies, versus policies in general, putting that together, and then also sequencing the chapters. And for that, I chose the policy life cycle as kind of the paradigm to follow. Now, there could be a lot more written about policies than is in this book. So there's plenty of ground for other people that want to tackle the subject. But that was about all I think we could reasonably fit in a book, and it also got to a point where I think we had 60,000 words in the end, and that was sufficient to call it a day.
And what about the publisher?
The publisher was extremely helpful. Steve Hoberman over at Technics Publications was very, very helpful, very rapid, and got this done in a very high quality way in a short duration. So I'm very happy with them.
So the final question, what do you hope readers will take away from your book?
Right, I would like this to be a step-by-step guide for all kinds of people who are involved with data. Data's everywhere today. So, you know, it may not just be a data governance unit. We have AI coming down the pike as well. Well, it's here already. So there has to be policies for that. It's closely related to data policies. There is risk, which is operational risk, has strong involvement with data. So there's a wide array of people who may well have an interest and benefit from looking at the way in which data policies should be done successfully and sustainably.
Thank you.
Thank you.